Welcome everyone to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Mark Green. Marcus, how are you?
Shall we begin?
Shall
What's going on, everybody?
It sounded more like Snape than anyone else. If we sound a little bit different, it's because I'm using different audio tools tonight. Trying to cut the cord, mostly because I hate dealing with that son of a bitch. And with my TV now built into my wall, as I managed to secure a docking port for my TV on the wall, I don't have space to hang up anymore, so I'm trying to find alternatives. So here we are. Vargas, we're here to talk wrestling. And boy, what a week of wrestling we have for you. First and foremost, Kurt Angle, he is us right now when it comes to Finn Balor. He wouldn't be surprised if Finn went somewhere else if WWE doesn't start putting him over. And I think, for one, he should. Marcus, do you think Finn has been used properly? And if so, what do you think the true ceiling of what he is could be?
I think he peaked twice in NXT. Whoa, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it feels like he peaked twice in NXT. Also, his first run, and then when they sent him back the second time, I think he superseded his first run. And then in terms of the main roster, I think he reached his height uh, on his initial win of the Universal Championship. Um, And then recently, when he's gotten more aggressive, but I feel like they haven't really capitalized on that at all. So yeah, I mean, I feel like he could very easily go somewhere else because right now they're just kind of toiling around with the idea of him just being around that new world title picture instead of actually having a championship. And now there's dissension within the ranks of the Judgment Day, as I'm looking at right now, and he's about to take another L, courtesy of Crossroads. So yeah, I mean, I just think obviously I don't think he needs to go back down to NXT, but because at this point that becomes an out for guys who just aren't getting their just doing the main roster. But like I said, he's done that already. I think he peaked the second time, and I mean, coming from Kurt, that's a good observation because at this point, I mean, you break him up from the Judgment Day, the most they'll do is potentially team him up with somebody like a JD McDonough, aka I guess a Jordan Devlin, and maybe have a tag team run or just send Finn off by himself. But what does he do when he's taking so many L's as a part of a faction right now? So yeah, maybe him being released and maybe going on a last New Japan run wouldn't be that bad of a deal because he's like what, touching 40 or is 40?
I think he's past 40.
Yeah, so I would imagine he wouldn't want to keep doing this for too long. So
He's 42.
yeah,
I'm of the
so
mindset, and like you bringing up New Japan makes all the sense in the world because he very easily could go there, find some of his old glory, and maybe even become a headliner again. Is there another place outside of New Japan you'd like to see him? I know like we're being big Impact marks, so like we would love to see that. But would it be and like would it behoove him to go to AEW maybe? What do you think?
narratively it probably behooved him to go to AEW with all the bullet mess that's across that roster. Um, Also leaves him with a hefty plethora of opponents. Not saying that Impact doesn't, but um, in terms of wanting to continue that Bullet narrative, which again, technically he started the Bullet Club. Um, so there's some juice that you can still squeeze there. And Yeah, not necessarily. Like I said, it's either there or New Japan. I'll be banking more on New Japan because, like you said, that's the place where he gets the instant competition, high level competition. Maybe toil with a few of the factions that's there, but primarily just get back some of that swag that's been tapered off in his WWE run. Not at all too different from what we saw with Kenta, you know. So we already know what would be up if Shinsuke ever went back. So
Yeah, it feels like Shinsuke coming back is a pipe dream at this point. So one last Finn Balor to New Japan question. Let's just suss this out. Do you think he would come back and fortify the Bullet Club? Because like they're trying to get Dave Finlay Jr. over, and I don't know if they're going to. But if you bring in Finn Balor, maybe you have him hand off the reins to Finn, and Finn takes over and reclaims his spot atop the Bullet Club, or you bring in Finn Balor to end the Bullet Club. What would you do?
I'm more in line with the latter, just because Bullet Club is it's already made its mark in the wrestling annals, if you will. But to me, at this point, with as many spaces and places as it's basically been divided up in, and even in New Japan where it was essentially as strong as, even that's been tapered off in different directions. To me, I'd bring him to basically put down the thing that he started. I think that'll be cool, and you know, with the level he was at when he left, he could immediately, that could be a great entryway point, and then for him to put down a beast that he essentially started, that ran for so long, even when he was no longer with it, then immediately have him go off into the heavyweight championship picture, because obviously you can't go for the IC because that's been unified. So I think that'll be a great way to go.
I'm on board with that. I think that could work. Speaking of things that might work, Matt Hardy was asked about whether or not Brock Lesnar would bring in, Tony Khan would bring Brock Lesnar to AEW. Let's show this. He was talking on his own podcast, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. By the by, before we get into this, Matt Hardy was one of the first wrestlers to actually be doing his own version of podcasting or digital shows on the internet. He and his brother Jeff were doing the Hardy Show in the mid 2000s, and they posted it online. This is like during MySpace, but like before MySpace like became super popular. So it's weird to see Matt Hardy kind of having his own podcast still, and he's one of the progenitors of the concept. But I digress. Quote: I would say the gimmick that the Butcher and the Blade put on TV. They say that they're hitmen and guys who go out. Whoever is willing to pay the biggest bucks, they'll go out for that guy and take out the competition. That's what Brock is. Brock knows his value. He knows his worth. So I guess Tony Khan would have to shell out the big bucks. I would guess that Brock feels a bit of an allegiance to Vince. I feel like he feels faithful to Vince because he feels like Vince has taken pretty good care of him. I could see him being a WWE lifer, and if Tony Khan was going to somehow procure Brock, he would have to shell out the big bucks. So the big question is, do you think Brock should or could or would go to AEW? Because Brock
Yeah, I
was
think
almost
anything.
sorry, go on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think anything could be possible. I mean, from years ago, I'd say no way, but we've seen so many different things transpire in the last decade that we thought we'd never see. That it basically be kind of extremely naive, if not outright stupid, to say it'll never happen. I mean, a man kind of moves how he wants to move, essentially, even with WWE. So, him making that move to another company, of course, it's his prerogative, but um, I don't really see any reason to. I think his bread is quite well buttered where it's at. And I don't even know if you want to associate with another brand. This is kind of the waters, this particular great white is used to. Um, and I don't know, man. It almost come off like, and this would be a good point to get your take on, because it almost feel like he's already mismatched in terms of certain. size differential in WWE. I feel like it'll get worse if he went to AEW.
Yeah,
You know, because
I
it's like
agree.
the biggest he's gonna run into is who? I'm finna call him Funkasaurus. No, the Luchasaurus, uh, Brody King,
Big,
Miro, Powerhouse Hobbs, and who's left? I
big
was finna say
Cass,
Big Cass and Downgrade Batista. Who am I thinking about?
Parker
Uh,
Bordeaux,
huh?
Parker Bordeaux.
No. What's his
Oh,
face?
oh,
Heavy. Yeah.
Ma- yeah, Mason Ryan.
Yeah, his first cousin. So
Wardlow,
it's not.
Wardlow, Wardlow.
Yeah. Yeah, Warlow. So it's not gonna be too many guys he's gonna run into of impeccable size, and the way the AEW books, they'll run the way the AEW books, he'll jump Sting and then start a beef with Darby Allin because Darby just has to tackle all the mountains with a skateboard, you know.
I mean, if someone's going to, it might as well be Darby. I think AEW needs a cruiserweight division. I feel like Darby Allin is too popular and too over and too dynamic not to have a belt all the time. Like everyone talks about like who's gonna be the next Rey Mysterio around SmackDown. You have Dragon Lee, you have Kingo, you have Triple A and AEW, you have Mystico and Samurai Del Sol. The next Rey Mysterio is I know this is gonna sound a little bad considering their generations, but the next Rey Mysterio is Darby Allin. And he should be the focal point of the cruiserweight division because he has that type of personality. He draws people to him. So like I'd like to see more out of Darby Allin. And if Brock did sign with AEW, I know you're joking, but I'd love to see Darby versus Brock. Darby's making a name for himself for getting his ass kicked. No one kicks as much ass as Brock Lesnar. That is a empirical fact. The Earth revolves around the sun. The moon affects the gravitational elements of the Earth, and Darby Allin gets his ass kicked, and Brock Lesnar does the most ass kicking. These are four universal facts that cannot be disproved. So I say we see. I want to see.
Yeah, it'll be a hell of a concept, but I don't know, taking it seriously as a legitimate. I mean, we saw what he just did to Cody, but like I said, it'll feel like it almost just feels like he's facing off with Garth Zach Gowen. You know what I mean? I don't
Oh,
think you can't do that as a regular match. You can't do it. It's an insult. You'd have to do it as like you know, 7 stages of hell or something, or just make it a street fight. Have Brock in a dimly lit parking lot, and then have Darby come out of all places and spaces with all kinds of hardware.
he runs him over with a tricycle, like a plastic big wheel tricycle, the kind that like kicks up dirt because like it can't get traction because it's just a plastic tire.
Or you have him lure Brock into, like I said, a dimly lit parking lot, and then you just do a scene out of Rumble in the Jungle.
Oh jeez.
One of my favorites. Well, all these motorcycle goons that Darby's befriended over the years in his ragtag skateboarding, and they all just start tossing bottles at Brock.
Can they be Una motorcycles? One-wheeled mini-powered engine unicycles? I think the
They
only
run
way to
out.
do that and to do it right, and I don't mean to joke, but sincerely, I think the only way to do it right is to do what Dean Ambrose was going to do at WrestleMania. Have like that big, intense, hardcore brawl. If Brock's open for it, it makes the most sense. But otherwise, it doesn't make sense to do at all. So one thing that does make sense, though, Marcus, is Moose may be making a case for Mr. Impact because he did sign a new contract not that long ago. He signed in July. Uh, according to who is this? Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, as mentioned in our previous post, Moose re-signed with Impact Wrestling and amid interest from other wrestling companies just a couple of years ago. At the time, Impact wanted to lock him down before he could officially get offers from outside the company, and he was signed to a relatively lucrative deal. Though WWE's Canyon Seaman had reached out to Moose to express interest, much like him. 2021, Moose, Impact Wrestling made re-signing Moose a priority and wanted to get him signed before he entered free agency. We were told that there was interest in WWE, who indicated interest to some degree. WWE had been in contact with free agents this year, but have no official main roster signings as of well. I think they meant as of now. We weren't given specific lengths on Moose's deal, but we're told that it legitimately was the longest in Impact Wrestling history, dating back to the start of the company over 21 years ago. They'll have signed Moose well into his mid-40s. And Moose is currently... I just Googled Moose, and it's going to just pop up as Moose. I love this. I love this so much. Moose is 39. So they're saying mid 40s, so anywhere between 4 to 6 years, I would say, is the contract. Now, Marcus, the question is, what does Impact do with Moose? Do they make him world champion again? I think he needs a character overhaul before they do that. I would like to see him win the tag team titles and have a successful tag team title reign, but I don't know if they have a tag team partner that makes sense. Now, I would say Leo Rush. He's kind of the big man, little man equivalent of Moose. I think they would pair
Oh,
very well personality wise, even though they're drastically different styles of wrestlers. But outside of Leo Rush, like, I don't want to see him with Brian Myers. I don't want to see Brian Myers on my screen at all.
how did you say Leo? All I see is now Mooshley. Mooshley.
Oh my god, that works so well. Their finisher could be the Moose Rush, where like Leo does like a kicking backflip off a guy when he's in the corner, and then Moose hits him with a splash.
Or because not all tag team finishers are you know everybody doing something at once. Follow the go to hell with the rush hour.
There you go.
Yeah,
That could
it's,
work.
but I like that. I like that tag team combination because Rush is still the champion right now. Right? I'm like 4 weeks behind on Impact. It's ridiculous. But
It happens. I think Rush is still the champion. He did get hurt in real life, but I don't think he's hurt to the point where he's relinquishing the belt.
yeah, but it's I like that combination of the what he call himself, the problem child with the elk.
Wait, another tag team name: Rocky and Bullwinkle. Now I'm working on a top 100 list. I'm not sure if I'm going to post it to the site or if I'm going to just post it to Twitter. But I've compiled the top 100 single wrestlers in Impact Wrestling history, gender and weighted divisions. Minor spoiler: Moose I think comes in number 19. And this is all time. This is NWA TNA. This is TNA. This is Impact TNA or TNA Impact, Global Force Wrestling.
That's high praise. I mean, everybody and their mama done came through the company, man.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at longevity, title reigns, match caliber, impact, um, personality, presence, and
Oh,
I think Moose comes in at number 19 for sure.
is it safe to say our boy Angle is top 10?
Angle, spoiler, Angle's number one.
Boom.
I don't think any one wrestler has had a better career in wrestling than Kurt Angle, and I feel like it'd be offensive not to put him at number one, even over my boy Sting. Um, so I think this is like I have the list done. I have all 100 names sorted out and whatnot. I just got to figure out if I'm going to post it as one big post on the website. And I'm not going to
Yeah.
go into details, or at least not like gross amounts of details. Like I can do it in like an hour, but I
Yeah. No,
also
I'm
don't know
looking.
if I'm going to just post it to Twitter.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Names like Angle, Styles, Sting, Cage, Monty Brown, Amazing Red, stuff like that. Uh,
All
even
names
that,
that are on the list.
even that little twit known as Austin Aries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's on here. So. He's not as high as he should be, or at least in his own mind, but he's not. So like the list is gonna come out soon. I feel like of all the wrestling we've ever talked about, like the one area I deserve the right to be called an expert on is the history of Impact. So I feel like there's no one, literally no one else in the world who can post the content that we can post from Impact. And maybe something we look into doing more of exclusively, doing more Impact-centric content because like we're very good at it. Does Moose get another world title win, in your opinion?
I don't know about another world title shots, yes, but I do like the tag team, man, because it's just something different for him. We haven't seen Moose specifically factioned up since when he was with Aries and Cross.
Oof, yeah.
So yeah, you gotta you can definitely refresh that stink off. Like I said, I don't think he specifically kept that. Thankfully, he did keep from that particular time was the theme music. So with Superb, I think fit his heel character they grew into. But yeah, I like the faction bit of because I mean he's always been very much coming off the guy that teams with people when he has to. Sometimes he's jumped on them before. Sometimes he's waited till he's needed to use them and then jumped on them after. But I think having a definitive partner that he can kind of respect, and I think somebody like the Problem Child would be a good match. Um, so yeah, I like the tag team. Like I said, they got him for another however many years. So the possibilities at this point are endless.
I would say at least 5. I think 5 years makes the most sense because we've had 3-year contracts before, and I would have to hazard a guess we've had 4-year contracts. So I would say
Yeah,
5 years. I would say.
yeah, that's an improvement because it felt like we've had 3 and 4 week contracts.
Yeah. We need to listen. There's a part of me that loves seeing Pentagon and loves seeing who just rolled through it last. Damn it, Nick Aldis. Like I love seeing these guys come back. But if they're not going to sign for a year, don't do anything. Put them in a featured 6-man tag bout. Maybe they'll do a little feud to put over somebody else. That's it. No more title shots. No more title matches. No more title reigns. Sign for 12 months or shut the fuck up. I can't do it anymore. Like it's dumb. I'd rather see them build from the inside out and give guys like Bay and Ace Austin, even if I don't think they're headline worthy guys, like face of the franchise worthy guys, they're better options than guys that are willing to take a behind the scenes gig like Nick Aldis. Like, no thank you. No thank you.
Yeah, the whole "I'm gonna date you till I get back to the girl I'm really trying to smash" thing is done.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. You you went to the prom with her. She's willing to put out. She's funny. Date her. Wife her up. Stop holding out hope for the girl in your class who's going to be in Playboy.
Yeah,
Jesus
she can
Christ, I
cook.
just
She
got
got all
this.
her teeth. That's really important. Yeah,
Right?
I guess.
I just dated. I just dated myself with Playboy. Just
No, you want to go for the BBL bandit.
yeah, we don't need to go there. So like, you know, go with who brought you to the dance, essentially, right? Speaking of bringing you to the dance, Billy Corgan, quote, Tyrus is pretty serious when he's talking about the retirement stipulations of NWA 75. Could the worst wrestling reign in all of major sports titledom finally be over? Speaking with Stu Myrick of the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast, Corgan shared his thoughts on the upcoming title match. I think there's a couple things at play. First off, Tyrus is pretty serious about he's kind of towards the end of this thing. When he's talking about retirement, I mean, he's serious here. He really feels if he can't be at the top, then he's pretty much proven anything he's going to prove in this business. He's accomplished everything he's ever set out to do, including becoming the NWA World Champion. EC3 is when I was at TNA office. EC3 was the guy. He was the guy that we had tab as if this company's never going to go anywhere, it's going to be on the back of EC3. Corgan then discusses the relationship between EC3 and Tyrus, which dates back to the days in developmental. He described how the complexities of their relationship make the match even more compelling if the two stars push each other. So since that time, leaving TNA, going back to WWE, and having another frustrating run, if you look at both men, particularly their own personal relationships, of course they walk together. They walk together a lot in TNA. I think they go back to developmental days. Careers are meshed in many ways. You see it on a personal level. You see it on a professional level. When sometimes in the right moment you'll see two men push each other to a place I don't think they knew they could go. That's where that blurry line is, where their friendship stops at the ring ropes. So there's a lot of compelling layers here that I think are very fascinating. I am sorry, I can't help but laugh at Tyrus and compelling being in the same sentence. Stupid. Marcus, is the reign of terror almost over? Will NWA 75 be the end of Tyrus as we know it?
Yeah, I mean, look, but that's one reign of terror. You still got Corgan, ultimately.
Yeah.
Um, and as we know, fish rots at the head. So, I mean, look, this go come off harsh, but screw it. It's the subject we talking about. I think warrants it. And this is all subjective, so obviously, I guess he does have fans, but I think it's even more hilarious coming off of your point that he thinks he's done stuff to a legitimate point that his retirement would be seen as legitimate. Like it's
It
just
won't.
leave. It's not. It's not a retire. Like you didn't do anything. Like I mean, obviously you got the title and whatnot, but what the only foundation that you shaped is like because of your weight. It's not because of not because of the things that you've done to move any needle. Like you've regressed things. You've not progressed them. But then again, look at your views uh, on life in general. So it's just one of those things. Like I said, it comes off as just one reign of terror. I just think the whole thing about if he can't be on top. I'm like, even with the belt, you're not really on top because everything's going to the sinking to the damn bottom. Like it's felt like the entire brand since he's been champion, and even before that, because he's been floundering. But specifically with him, it feels like the whole brand is that damn unfortunate submarine accident. Instead of all at once, we've been just watching it slowly implode.
Oh man, that's that that's not inaccurate. I don't think Tyrus has anything going for him. He's not a name. He's not a draw. I think the idea of Tyrus and EC3 in a feud for the title would have made more sense 10 years ago when EC3 had the whole world in front of him. But now he's exhausted himself to the point where I don't know if you could build him up again. TNA did such a great job promoting him and getting him over, only for the WWE to twice screw him up. And then the control your narrative stuff, his run in Ring of Honor, his NWA stuff, like none of it's been good, sincerely. So it's hard for me to sit here and be like, oh yeah, EC3 is gonna win, and that'll be great. Because I don't know if that'll be great. I don't know if he's gonna be a good world champion because it's been 6 years, 5 years since he's done anything of relevance in wrestling. And he killed so much of his momentum with this control your narrative nonsense. And the people he associated with are some of the least popular, most disliked human beings in wrestling. And then
Yeah,
you bucked Impact for the NWA. It's like, or for Ring of
yeah,
Honor, actually.
because that control your narrative thing, it's not a thing anymore, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so it's because that was supposed to be this whole guy, I guess a company or whatever, or some type of promotion that ultimately I don't think went anywhere. But yeah, at this point, EC3 is the guy that used to be Ethan Carter the third.
He used
And
to be
that's
a
not.
world champion. He used to be a main eventer. He used to be a headliner. He used to be the guy. But now he's just, nah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he's the way to go. I don't know if he should beat Tyrus. I don't know. I just
And
know
look, man.
I'm excited about the prospect of him not facing Tyrus.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it was a bad out. Like, I don't think business was bad when. Well, I don't know because I didn't watch, but I think Trevor Murdoch was a decent champion. I would imagine.
Couldn't have been worse.
Like I, like I said, I think when you talk about the NWA, that brand, that style, that old school type of look and feel or whatever, I think Trevor Murdoch very much represents that. Obviously, all this, like I said, put the company on his back. I thought Murdoch was a good champion. This is also a company that essentially has had and also wasted the Pope.
Hmm.
So it's only so much you can say. Uh, but I guess the fact that they're still going is impressive at least. But your glory days are like under an hour years ago on YouTube. Like we got a major sit down and restructuring conversation that needs to happen. I think.
Going, going broke. So now we're moving on to Asuka. She says that Stardom was created to defeat her, but they failed. I don't know. From Fightful.com, before she signed with WWE, Asuka was one of the top wrestlers in Japan. She had successful tenure in pro wrestling weight among other companies. During her time with WWE, she became one of the most decorated members of the roster as she was won the SmackDown Championship and the WWE Women's Championship. In a series of tweets, Asuka shared her thoughts. The series of posts started where she responded to a fan, who essentially deleted their tweet, and noted that some of the Japanese media still hate her because she did not flatter them. I don't flatter anyone. Even in Japan, the media hated me because I don't flatter the media. In Japan, everyone was flirting with the media except me. I fought the media alone to take care of my fans. That's why some of the Japanese media still hate me. That's why I've always been a freelancer. And everyone in Japan knows I'm an anti-Joshi pro, always. In another tweet, Asuka stated that Stardom was created to defeat her and destroy her personally. She wrote that they failed and she doesn't know what happened to them because she came to America. The former editor-chief of Pro Wrestling Weekly has made this point on several occasions. That is, that Stardom is an organization that was created to defeat me. It's an organization that was created to destroy me personally, but they failed to defeat me. I don't know what happened to them after that because I came to America. The article goes on to say Asuka continued by stating that the media could not bring her down when she came to America, though they must have wanted her to fail. She wrote that she has been fighting her critics since her days in Japan, but now she has comrade in arms. The media could not bring me down when I came to America. They must have really wanted me to fail. I am used to it because I have been fighting my critics alone since my days in Japan. But now I am here. I have comrade in arms, Charlotte Beck, and Triple H. I've walked alone in the wilderness all my life, and here I have an oasis. To be Asuka Antes, I say, beat me up on the internet all you want. I grab it. So Marcus, did Asuka just have a moment? It's like I gotta wonder, like, did she know what she was saying? Because like, how did she not know what Stardom's doing? They're one of the six biggest promotions in Japan right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's what she. I guess Magic caught a lot of her fame, but everybody has different experiences and feelings towards stuff. So I mean, I can't. I would imagine even if some of it was kind of embellished for the moment because she felt like just going off on it. I would imagine that, like we always say, with the smoke there's fire. You would imagine that some of that's true. I don't know to what extent exactly. 'Cause I didn't follow her career when she was over there, but Stardom's still up and going strong. In terms of what she said about the media, I can imagine. So like some people just want to do what they're good at, get in, get out, and go home. Um, Obviously, you would have to, I guess, get more involved into that in a certain way with as mainstream as WWE is. But I don't really see her having a plethora of interviews. I think she has her own YouTube channel, but that's dictated by her own pace and not somebody else's. So, um, yeah, I think a part of it was true, and then some of it just her kind of her going off. But we see that a lot uh, with stuff.
I think it's funny that she's sitting here saying she doesn't know what happened to them. Like, really? Are we going to pretend that that's reality? course she knows what happens to them. She pays attention. I don't know why she decided to go off on Stardom today, and I don't know why Stardom was created. What I will say though is Stardom's doing well, Asuka's doing well, and I wish bygones could just be bygones. And I'm gonna say that to Phil and Adam as well. Let bygones be bygones. And there's a reason why we're not talking about CM Punk tonight. I just want to be very clear. CM Punk said a dumb joke that was accurate, and now the Elite's leaking information to try to make Punk look bad, but isn't making him look bad. I'm sorry, but like Dolph Ziggler's family are scumbags. So yeah, I'm fine with Briley Pierce getting kicked out of the AEW locker room. Why wouldn't I be? I feel like that's kind of just normal. Like his brother, I think, like went to jail for killing a guy. I'll have to check that here in the next segment, but like I don't give a shit about the Zigglers or the Pierces or the Nemeths, the Nemai. So if CM Punk kicked one out of a locker room, good for CM Punk. Good for boys. Marcus, we do have to talk about something a little bit scary though. Apparently over the weekend, El Hijo del Vikingo passed out at Triple Mania 31 CDMX. I don't know why it's called CDMX. Apparently, he defeated Daga, Jack Cartwheel, terrible name, and Mike Bailey to retain the AAA Mega Championship. And then after the match, he fainted backstage and was taken out on a stretcher. Uh, but he was active on social media following the fainting. Mike Johnson of PW Insider reports that no one they've spoken to has stated that the stretcher was part of a sell job or a work. Johnson wrote that Vikingo was legitimately not feeling well ahead of the match, and he was wound up being dehydrated. However, sources stated that Vikingo is fine and he's not expected to miss any time. This is, I think, what we can all officially say is a very welcoming piece of news. You know, we've heard the inverse of this far too many times. Scary situation out of AAA, though. Any thoughts on this story?
No, just thankful that it wasn't more serious than it appeared to be. I mean, when you were going through it, I was like, it sounds like because you see how he wrestles, a style, and the pace at which he goes, man. And you would imagine that he very much has to be kind of, you kind of need the energy to go and maintain that level of action that he dictates. So, you're being hydrated. I would imagine it's just key in general for that job, but specifically with the style that he wrestles. So I'm glad that that's all that was. Hopefully, this is keeps him enlightened to make sure that he's hydrated because that could have very well happened during the match and not after. Um, and then just like I said, just thankful as a fan because we've seen these situations be far worse and sometimes fatal. We've seen a lot of young athletes over the last few years just kind of have cardiac incidents. Uh, Obviously the football player and recently LeBron's son and stuff of that nature. So you just hope it's not as bad as it appears. And yeah, I think that's a note that everybody could take to be hydrated. One of the guys that wrestles for GLEAT, he comes out drinking water. Uh, and I think it's funny because you look at the guys like the Shield; those guys used to always come out wet. I don't know if they ever drunk it because it was specifically rain because it was just used it as a hair gel almost. But yeah, you just grateful for stuff like that because we done seen look what happened to poor Perro. So you know just hope that guy's doing well because he's one of the best going. So prayers
It's
up for
good.
him.
I'm right there with you. It's good that he's okay, and considering all the things that could have been wrong, to know that he was just dehydrated and probably under the weather because of it. Best of a bunch of worst case scenarios. It's good that he's okay, so I'm happy about that. Multiverse United 2 is coming up this weekend, actually, the 20th. We have a full stack of shows. I think it's going to be on Fight TV, and it's going to be taking place from 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The tagline is "For whom the bell tolls." But what is on the show? So here's the lineup as we know it. Some cards have changed. Joe Hendry, Yuya Uemura, and Heath will take on Rocky Romero and Ryusuke Taguchi and Master Wato, who are the 6 or 9. Kenny King will defend his Impact Digital Media Championship against Yoshinobu Kanemaru. In the singles match, we got Bushi. I'm sorry, in the scramble match, we have Bushi versus Chris Sabin versus El Desperado versus Frankie Kazarian versus Kevin Knight versus Mao versus Rich Swann. Doki will take on Sami Callihan in the singles match. In a tag team match, Leo Rush and Trey Miguel will take on Hiromu Takahashi and Mike Bailey. In a four-way match for the Strong Women's Championship, mispronounce this, Galula. She's an English-born Italian-Japanese pro wrestler. Gilia, I think that's how it is. Will take on Deanna Prazza, Giselle Shaw, and Momo Kogo. In the tag team match, the Mighty Don't Kneel, Zachary Sabre Jr. and Shane Hayes will take on Moose and Eddie Edwards. That's going to be interesting. In a 12-man tag team match, Bullet Club with Kenta, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, as well as the Bullet Club War Dogs, Alex Coughlin, Clark Connors, and David Finlay will take on the World, El Phantasmo, Josh Alexander, PCO, the DKC, and Guerrillas of Destiny's Tom Loa. And then in the main event for the Impact World Championship, Hiroshi Tanahashi will take on Alex Shelley. While Tanahashi, I think it was 46 or 47, 46. This will still be Shelley's biggest match to date, and unless something shocking happens, I assume Shelley is going to win because they're building up to Shelley Alexander Bound for Glory, it seems like. So I would be surprised if Shelley lost this match, and if Shelley wins, this will be not only the biggest win of his current title reign, but arguably the biggest win of his career. With the card as it is, Marcus, what do you think of it? Do you think it's up to snuff? Are you excited for it? Is it better than the last one?
Yeah, man. You said this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, the Saturday, I think, 12th, the 20th.
Nice, nice. Looking forward to it. Yeah, they haven't missed. Like I said before the show, man, they haven't missed.
This
Um,
Sunday, it's Sunday, Marcus.
okay, gotcha. Yeah, they haven't missed. I think it's up to snuff with the last card, and they had to improvise a couple things on the last card. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it, man. Like even with the high number type matches, like the 12 man, like Impact does a great job with that. And obviously, New Japan is so used to doing those this litany of tag matches anyway. It's kind of seems like a perfect melding, if you will. So, just you boss everything out properly, give everybody the proper time, and this gonna be another great show for Impact, man. They've had just all the shows feel like they've been great all year. So, and they really feel like they put some intentionality behind these multiverse shows because they know it's just something that you know you don't get on the regular, and blending New Japan with their roster, man, it just comes off like money. So very much looking forward to it. And that main event is well deserved by Shelley, and with the anticipated win that we both see him getting, with the implications for Bound for Gore and coming. I think that too is well deserved and speaks to respect because uh, I don't necessarily see Tanahashi just giving that win to anybody. So
So this is technically the third of the multiverse matches. The first one featured the main event of the Good Brothers defeating the Briscoe Brothers, with
boo.
Chris Sabin versus Jay White on the card, Deanna versus Fabio Apache, Josh Alexander and Johnny taking on Moose and PCO, Ishii taking on Eddie Edwards. The Influence, which was Matt Rain and Tennille Dashwood taking on Decay, having Rosemary Jones, Cross, Matt Evans, and Tasha Steele. Mike Bailey versus Alex Shelley, Nick Aldison, Vicky versus Chelsea Green and Matt Cardona. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Mid Cardona. Then you had Trey Miguel defeating Blake Christian, Chris Bay, Jordan Grace, Rich Swann, and Vincent. The Ultimate X match. So that was the first one. And the second one had a main event of Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating Mike Bailey. So that was interesting. So
Yeah, for
here we are,
the
round three.
names. Yeah.
All right, Marcus. That takes us to our last topic, which is G1 Climax 33. The results are in. Tetsuya Naito defeated Kazuchika Okada to win the event. He will go on to, I think, Wrestle Kingdom now to headline against Sonata. Was this the right move? Because like so much of the talk coming into this tournament was that this was the chance for them to build new stars, and they kind of set them up to do that. Dave Finley and Hikuleo were in the tournament. Zachary Sabre Jr., while not young, was new, and even Sonata himself was involved. Now I think Sonata lost mostly to put over Evil, to do a short program with Evil and Sonata before the end of the winter. Not winter, but the tournament year, I should say. So like they seem to be the next up for the title. But the final four ended up being the typical who's who's: Will Ospreay, Tetsuya Naito, Kazuchika Okada, Evil. All four men are former champions. Now, I don't see how that helps build new faces or new company guys. Especially when you look at the fact that Jeff Cobb came in third, Tama Tonga came in third. Granted, he's not young. Yoda Tushi or Yoda Yushi, I don't know how to pronounce that. Came in seventh in his bracket. El Phantasmo, Taichi, and Tangaloa, and Kenta and Great Okan all tied in their bracket for third. So like there were opportunities to get new guys in there, and instead we got, I think Kazuchika Okada was what, 36, 35? He's 35. He's going to turn 36. And Naito's over 40. He's
Yeah,
41. This isn't new guys. Like you had the opportunity to put over new dudes, and you didn't. I don't know.
yeah, man. It's an interesting. Quick question, and maybe you probably have put up on screen. When was the last time that tournament made a new guy?
Good question. Let's find out.
Was it Okada?
It may have been. Let's see. Climax history. Let's do it. Okay. So Naito. So going back from 23, 22 and 21 was Okada. 20 and 19 was Ibushi. 18 was Tanahashi. 2017 was Naito. 2016 was Kenny Omega. So maybe 2016 because he hadn't won the IWGP Heavyweight title by then. So maybe him. Then Tanahashi, Okada, Naito. Okada in 2012. Maybe that was Okada's first year as a headliner. That would make sense because he would be what, 25.
Yeah,
Nakamura was already a headliner by 2011. Satoshi Kojima, obviously not. Togi Makabe, no. Tanahashi, Tenzan, Chono, like all these dudes that are winning it have already been like well established.
yeah,
Hashimoto, I think, was established when he won it. Kensuke Sasaki, I think, was already established. I think Ricky Chozo was already established when he wasn't. Chono. You're gonna laugh. I think the first person to win it who didn't have some type of established name by you may have been Hulk Hogan.
oh wow,
He won the IWGP League in 1983. And
wow,
say what you will about Hulk Hogan as a wrestler, if you ever actually watched his Japanese stuff, he's a vastly different worker. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's Kurt Angle, but he was significantly better than his Americanized version. However good you want to deem that. So I would say Hogan was probably the first. Then
yeah,
maybe Tanahashi was already a star when he won it first time. So was Nagata, Kojima. I would say three times. Hogan, Okada, and Omega are the only three times I can say for certainty that a quote unquote new name was made. And that all depends on how you want to view Omega's time prior to winning the IWGP title. Fun
yeah. That's
fact:
interesting.
Kenny Omega debuted in 2000. WCW was still around.
No, but yeah, that's interesting. Like I said, it feels like over the last decade of the well, for you know, for what you said, even more so than that, it's been used to make guys who probably would have benefited from actually outright running to just have good showings, like not a few years back or maybe less than probably a few years back when our boy Juice got that win over who was it Okada he beat
I think so.
or one of those guys that he had that crazy upset victory against. But if it was up to us, obviously booking, we would want those type of things to happen and for them to get that shot in the end. Uh, but I think it's been maybe used more so to have guys like that have great showings and not necessarily get the outright victory. Um, when it comes to the winner outright being Naito, it kind of feels like the minutes that not have defected um, to what's the name of his group, the Five Guys or something. It's not the freaking Five Guys, Jesus. Uh,
6 dudes with attitudes.
yeah, something like that. Alpha. But when he defected, the fix was in because the thing that Naito said was like, he can go, but if he couldn't become a world champion with us, what the freak he gonna do over there? And then obviously, you know, Lady of Fortune smiled down on him. And now it is what it is. But it feels like the minute that happened, the fix was in. The student must now become the teacher of that whole deal. But it's not solidified even with the championship until he ultimately beats Naito. So, but there was potentially another way to get to that because you could have essentially just had Naito coming out there egging him on, doing what he does in a different way, and that could have just been long-standing built-up tension from his initial defection. But I guess they wanted to use the tournament, make Naito work for it, and definitively get a shot to the big show, and not a show that's next to the big show to do that. But again, like you said, that was another essentially wasted opportunity to put over a guy who probably could have used it more because Naito is solidified. His whole story is he tried it the right way, and then in one of the most famous cities you know in Japan, they turned on him, and he's been pissed ever since. So that whole deal is long standing, but the beef with Sonata is personal, coming with the Lij swag. So I get it, but again, when you line up them finalists, who you said Naito, Okada, uh, who else was a
Osprey.
finalist? Osprey, and yeah, those guys are absolutely solidified. They don't need that type of stuff. They all either in a faction or leading one. So it's like, you know,
And to Naito's defense, he's not even the guy with the most wins. So Naito and Okada and Tanahashi, Tenzan, Shono, and Inoki all have at least 3 wins. Okada, Shono, and Inoki have 4 wins. Shono and Inoki have 5 wins. And Inoki technically has 10 wins. Now, this wasn't the G1 Climax, it was the IWGP League when he was doing it, but still. It could be worse in terms of overbooking. Last final note, fun factoid, Kenny Omega lost to Dan Severn, MMA legend, in 2005 in an MMA match for the Action Wrestling Entertainment League. So yeah, I always forget Kenny Omega had a MMA career for a while. He lost to Travis Fulton in Iowa in 2007 in 1 minute and 24 seconds via TKO. So Omega wasn't that good. Maybe that's why Omega thinks he's tougher than he is. Just a thought. All right, Mark, is there any final thoughts? Anything else you want to touch on before we head off for the night?
uh, it's good to see our boy Ray with gold again. Hope it lasts more than a month.
Yeah, he won the U.S. title for another time. Apparently, Chad Gable will take on Gunther one more time for the IC title.
Yeah, man. The boy Gable's been gaining some momentum with that shoosh stuff, and obviously his in ring is unquestionable. But yeah, so we'll see if he might be the man to finally knock off the Ring General. The freaking
Uh,
Uso quit, huh?
apparently, although it's a storyline, so we're not going to really touch that right now. We're not Pro Wrestling Illustrated. We don't touch the storylines too often on the show. Piper Niven is the new WWE Women's Tag Team partner of champion Chelsea Green.
Yeah, Chelsea Green's paying a Karen, go figure. And Piper Niven came in and punked her into being a partner. So,
WWE admits that Stephanie McMahon, when she was with the company, spoke with to-be executives and denies MLW's claims. MLW is suing WWE due to their involvement in potentially blocking TV deals for them. And if this announcement allegation, if this allegation is true, and she did speak with to-be executives, then this is going to hurt the lawsuit for WWE. And considering the UFC is about to suffer a huge ass issue with a current reclassification lawsuit that could see their contracts forever changed, making it far easier for fighters to negotiate and not to deal with stupid ass stipulations. The WWE is going to be having a rough 2024 if this is the case. Because you have numerous personal lawsuits, you have MLW suing you, you have your new parent company having to deal with the fact that their lawsuits centering around unjust contracts have basically been confirmed, and now we're just waiting on a permanent ruling. Like, it's not good. It's not good if you're a mega conglomerate sports industry these days. So, I don't know, too bad.
yeah, that don't that don't sound too dissimilar. Obviously, vastly different in a lot of ways. But remember when we brought up that whole thing, like, wait a minute, people about to start suing people for having their ink in video games? Yo,
That was stupid. Well, that's all for us tonight. Like a RICO Act, we've done all we can do. Now it's up to somebody else. 41. What a number. Hell of a number. Great number. Best number on both sides. I will say nothing else to it. Uh, for Chad Porto, that's me. He's Marcus Green. Thanks for checking us out this week. And if you liked us, you want to find us more, you can find us on the interwebs at the website, nerdcorp.com, REALNERDCorp.com. We're also on Twitter or X at NERDCORP. And Marcus, you're on Twitter/X at Paradox Kid, PARADOXKID. Did you hear that
yes,
X? I said the name of the website.
that's the kid.
You can also find him on this other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. I forgot about the last word. True Penny Show. You can find them on Twitter as well at True Penny Show. They upload their podcasts to their Twitter accounts. You don't need a Twitter account to find them. Just look them up via Twitter. Listen to their shows. They cover things like Elite, New Japan, and other wrestling things. Check them out. You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHADNERDCORP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo, CHADSPHOTOHUT. Be on the lookout for the upcoming top 100 Impact Wrestlers of All Time list. I don't think it's going to be super controversial, but it's going to be super interesting to see how many people agree with the list. So be on the lookout for that. I may finish that tonight, depending on how much energy I have. So yeah, that'll be up sometime this week. So will the podcast and all the good stuff. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Thanks. I fucked it up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Fuck it. We're Marcus Green. I'm Chad Porto. We're done. We're out. Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.